We're just going to start by kicking things off here. I wanted to welcome everyone to our first ever webinar on CRO for Project 3. Today we're going to be reviewing some decision science principles that play into our approach on how we optimize clients' websites. So ultimately what we'll be doing today is we'll be going through a pre-selected website, the website's homepage, doing a heuristic analysis using three very specific decision science principles that I'll review here in just a moment. But that's kind of what we can expect here. I definitely want to welcome any questions that you may have about any content that I talk about, any clarifying questions or anything like that. Please, put those in the chat, and I'll try and get to those towards the end of the heuristic audit, so we can answer those as in real time as possible, but also give enough time to do the full analysis, so that we can cover everything that we wanted planned here. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into that. So the principles that we'll be focusing on, I actually prepared a little slide here that I'll share with you. All right. So these are the three key principles that we're going to be focusing on today as we progress through our heuristic audit. The first thing that we want to be paying attention to is when a customer or potential customer comes to your website, we want to make sure that they feel safe and secure. In the digital world that we live in, fraud happens a lot, scams happen a lot, and so you can go a long way in helping your customer feel safe and secure on their website. And we'll kind of go through, some of the questions to ask when you're reviewing your own website for improvements to make with respect to safety and security, that your customer or potential customer will need to feel in order to do business with you. Next, we'll move on to customer validation and motivation. So ultimately what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a view of the website from the perspective of the customer, understanding the problems that that they're facing that brought them to your website in the first place, and understanding how to validate their experience and then motivate them to take action. And then the last thing that we're going to be focusing on is how we can facilitate action. And so, you can make someone feel safe and secure and motivated, but if you don't help them take action or show them how to take action, that it ultimately leads to frustration. So, going to want to talk about these three things. Look at the page through these specific lenses from the perspective of the customer, and then be able to kind of formulate some test plans, some hypotheses, and start to build out your experimentation strategy. So I kind of want to delve a little bit deeper into each of these three aspects, just so we kind of know what questions to ask, what elements to look out for, and so on. So first, I'm going to start out with safety and security. So this is something, again, as I mentioned, we're going to want to really address at the onset, making sure that your customer, potential customer, feels safe and secure on your website. So questions that we want to ask here is, what about your site or elements on your site are aimed at increasing your customers' trust in your company, as well as their trust in your brand? So specific things to look out for are trust icons or social or social type icons. So Better Business Bureau, that's a really great logo to have. It's pretty universally known for best business practices, that kind of thing. Customer review, so social proof, those are really good. They actually do two things that we'll kind of talk about there, and some of these elements actually will serve multiple purposes. Security protocol, so your HTTPS, having that there, it's a subconscious thing, but it definitely helps instill trust in your potential customers or your existing customers. And then a secure checkout process or a secure lead generation process. So we'll focus on the safety and security of things, and then we'll move through the others. But I want to give you a good idea of what each of those are. So next, we'll move on to the validation and emotion. So once your customer or potential customer is feeling safe and secure, we're going to want to help them understand that we understand the problem that they're facing that's brought them to the website. So we're going to want to ask questions like, okay, what is the problem that they're facing? What are some of the pain points or inconveniences or trauma points that your customer is facing because of this problem? And then you're going to want to address how your product and solution helps them solve or overcome that problem. So going to want to be looking at some of the elements there. The validation and motivation elements, those are your website copy, the images and icons that you use to convey specific emotional states. So we'll be delving into that after we address the safety and security. And then in terms of facilitating action, this is very, very important because we don't actually understand at what point in the user journey they are going to be feel adequately safe and secure and feel adequately validated and motivated to take actions. So this is where some of the guesswork, but it's strategic guesswork, comes into play. So this is where we're going to be wanting to place as many prompts or triggers, for lack of a better term, in the user's path so that when they are adequately motivated, they can know how to take action to either go to the next step or to take the ultimate action to do business with you and hopefully fix the problem that they're facing. So questions that we want to ask here: is it clear what your customer needs to do to solve their problem? And this is typically what you'll be seeing in your CTA buttons and whatnot. Is it clear what your customer needs to do next? Again, examples of this are frequent action-focused, action-oriented CTA buttons, floating CTA buttons that kind of follow the user on the user journey, and then clear, actionable button copy that will align with where the user wants to go. And if you're really wanting to turn up the fuel here, helping them understand what they can expect by taking that action. So without further ado, we're going to dive in to the company that we've chosen to review. It's a company called Spiffster. They are a subscription service for men's dress, for ties, socks, that kind of thing. And so there's the first thing that we're going to evaluate here on the website is going through kind of the safety protocols, the safety and security aspects. So one of the first things that's missing here is a phone number here in the navigation. So adding a phone number up here will do two things. One, it'll give you a nice little SEO bump in your search engine results rankings, because it's part of what the Google algorithm looks for. And then two, it actually increases the security of your customer, prospective customer, because they know that if they do run into any issues with your service or your product, they have a number that they can contact you with. They know that you exist. They know that you have a location somewhere that's tied to a physical location that they can reach out if they do have any issues. So that's the first thing that I would want to address here. There's some other good aspects here. So this right here is what I like to refer to as a trust belt. So this is really good stuff here. Apparently they've been featured in Style CNN. Great things here. Social Proof. These are well-known organizations. So this is a really good element here for increasing trust. This is also another nice little touch here as well. This is really great in terms of building trust. This is actually kind of painting the picture of how the subscription itself works. Really great here. There's a couple of changes here that I'll talk about from the actionability side of things, but this is a really great visual for helping with addressing some safety and security concerns. Testimonials, these are really great here. Really great social proof. It does actually two things. One, it helps provides safety and feelings of safety and security in your user, because other people are doing it, and they're having a good experience with it. So they feel trust in that people are actually buying from you, and then at the same time, it actually increases their motivation. So this is one of those elements that does two things in helping to improve the probability that a user will convert on your website or take an additional action. The Spiffster community, this is a really great thing too, another social proof. And then, so primarily that's we're doing really good here. So down here, these symbols for different payment methods. This is also good to know, just so that they can know what to expect if they decide to do business with you. If the payment method that they use is accepted, that kind of goes a long way. And there's also some implicit assumptions that security is involved, in the checkout process here. So next, would be kind of the motivation. And there's a couple things here that definitely would want to address in terms of motivation. So this really great hero image here. One thing that I would focus on, and this isn't something that's super widely known. So you notice the gaze of the person in the image here. It's actually looking down and away, when in all actuality, this CTA button is where you're wanting the user to focus their gaze. So by having this image looking away, you're actually fighting the natural impulse, our natural human impulse, to follow a person's eyes. So it's actually you have conflicting objectives with the image and where you're wanting them to focus. So this can be changed in a couple of different ways. This would be a great thing to test in either mirroring the image so that the subject's eyes are pointed towards the CTA, or shifting it over so that their eyes are naturally, so that the image is here on this side, so that they can look down and see the CTA here. Another thing that we'd want to look at here is basically kind of the emotional state of the model here. Are we wanting is that the emotional state that we're wanting to convey to our potential customer? Is that how they're going to feel in the in the tie, or in the other socks or anything like that? So something to definitely look at here, kind of wanting to tie into the overall emotional environment of your digital of your web page here. Motivation, so this is a great call out here. Premium Handcrafted Tie Club, calling to the value. Something that could be helpful here is tying it to how a specific problem that your customer user is facing. This is actually a really great image here. What's in the box? This kind of is really good in what comes in with each subscription. One thing that I would add here is adding an ability to build your own box or customize. This is a great opportunity to leverage the IKEA effect, which basically means that if a user can interact in creating their own experience, or it creates this investment effect, so that that will actually, by allowing them to mix and match and kind of configure their own box, that actually increases the probability that they'll convert. This section here, not entirely sure what's going on here. It looks like it's fine print, and that's actually how it could be construed by a potential user. So this is something that I would definitely address. It looks like there is some fine print here. This could be moved, if it's not super important, moved all the way to the bottom, just because it kind of breaks up the flow of things, and it could put your user or your potential customer on edge. So again, kind of coming back to this in terms of the motivation, this is great from a motivation and a safety and security standpoint. One thing that I would do here is I would add a CTA where they can actually do each of these things. So choosing your style, having a CTA button or just having this be the CTA button of choose your style. You can actually click and start to build out your process here. Getting it delivered. This could be something where if they have to create an account, you can actually click on this and allow them to build out their account profile, so that each subsequent checkout is that much more streamlined. Building your tie collection. This is also another thing where you can take them directly into the buying process by adding a CTA here. So again, mentioning we don't ever really know when they're going to be adequately motivated. So giving them the opportunity at almost any strategic opportunity is ideal. So discovering our ties, this is also a really great element here. One thing that I would do in terms of increasing actionability is adding CTAs here that can take them to these individual collections. You're taking them to the original collection or the silk collection or the skinny collection. So just more or less facilitating action here. You've got a lot of really great content, a lot of really great imagery, but at the end of the day, you only have this learn more, and learn more is entirely overused, and your chances or your probability of getting interacted with are much lower. So adding individual CTAs below each of these would be a great thing to test in increasing homepage engagement. These testimonials are great. Something that I would recommend here is removing these read mores, because you already have the overall gist of the testimonial. Something I would add is kind of the star ranking that we all kind of know and understand, from Amazon or from our favorite e-commerce site. They'll usually have those, and it's kind of a universal understanding of a numbering of their experience on on the website. So that could go a long way in helping increase user motivation and understanding what other customers' experience is with your brand. This is awesome. I mean, Spiffster community, I actually love companies that do promote a sense of community, just because it's a great way to operationalize social proof. Something that could be really cool here in increasing, leveraging the community to increase engagement is to incentivize your customers that are happy with their experience to call you out in their social media, and then you could give them like a 5 to 15% discount on their next order, or something like that, just to kind of operationalize and really leverage the community aspect of this this website. These two elements, I would actually probably either move to a different page or add as pop-ups, just because they don't really fit into the flow and the overall objective of the front page, the home page. They actually have a kind of a detracting or conflicting objective, and definitely would want to remove that. You want to facilitate as much action and as much flow as possible. So now that we've kind of covered some of the motivation and some of the security aspects, the last thing that I want to talk about is the action enablement. And there's, as we've reviewed, there are some strategically placed CTAs on the page. And so I'm going to kind of go through each of these and explain what could be done to improve this. So this primary hero CTA is great. Starting at $10.99 per month, that's great information for a year to have, but it also is confusing because it's not telling you to take action at all. It's just saying, oh, starting at $10.99. Okay, that's great. What do you want me to do? So what something that would be really great to test some copy here would be, build your own box, or build your own collection, and then small print starting at $10.99 per month. So that way it's inviting the user to take action, and you're also helping them understand what to expect as they're building out this, building out the package, that this is kind of the price that they're going to be starting at. So kind of setting and managing their expectations. Another thing I would do here is this CTA blends into the hero, and contrast converts. If you're increasing the visibility of something that you want the user to do, you're going to increase the likelihood or the probability that the user will actually take that action. So increasing the contrast here would go a long way, and even giving them two options. To either, if they're not quite ready to start building their own package, exploring the collections, and then having the other one to build your package. Giving them the freedom of choice there. Another thing I would do. Oh, I did mention this before. So this is what's in the box. This is a little bit confusing in that it looks like a CTA button, but it's actually not. It's just a visual element. What I would do here is add an additional CTA and be like, to invite action. Okay, this is what's in the box. Here's the ability to customize what's in the box, so you can personalize your experience. Again, this is something I've moved to the bottom. Here I talked about adding some CTAs here. This would be a really great place for it. So choosing your style. Each of these headings here could be great copy for a CTA button. So they can, one, they know what action to take next, and what ultimately what they need to do in order to resolve the problem that they're facing, or to get what they're wanting out of this experience. Again, we talked about adding CTAs here to each of these specific product categories, and then removing these, mainly because the reason that I say removing these is not necessarily to reduce transparency, but in order to avoid objectives conflict. So if a user is clicking into these, it's going to actually take them away from the buy flow or the journey that you're kind of wanting them to go on. You're providing them with enough information so that they can appreciate the experience of others, but you're not shooting yourself in the foot by taking them away from where you're wanting them to go. And that's it. So again, I'm gonna talk about, just recap the elements that we talked about. Primarily, when you're going through and you're conducting a heuristic audit of your homepage, or your product description pages, or solution description pages, or your checkout funnel, you're going to want to address each of these very important, almost primal principles in helping a user to facilitate action, facilitate conversion, and that's through addressing their ability to feel safe and secure on your website, feeling validated and understood and motivated on your website through helping them understand that you understand their problems, and that you can help be a guide in helping them to overcome those problems. And then the end, facilitating action. And this is something that you want to really, really focus on, because as I mentioned before, we have no idea when our customers or prospective customers are going to be adequately motivated. And so we want to place these prompts in their path as much as possible without being overbearing. So are there any questions? Oh, yeah, it looks like there are. So I'm going to stop sharing. Actually, I won't stop sharing. I'm just going to look at the questions here. Okay, so instead of learn more, what are some other CTA type examples? This is a little bit of a difficult question in that it just depends. It depends on what's happening within that specific element or section of the web page. So, for example, in a hero image, say for this website, the Spiffster one, giving those two examples of, so they come to the website, they're there to get ties or to browse, giving them the opportunity to explore our collections using that active word explore. So explore the collections or build your own package. That's more of a action oriented copy that is going to invite the user to actually take action. Learn more, it doesn't really tell them what they're going to learn or help them understand what to expect in that process. So wanting to be as specific in helping to set and manage your prospective customers' expectations in the next step of that user journey. So helping them know where they're going, having a clear path, and then just kind of having almost like Hansel and Greteling, breadcrumbing the entire process. Then, okay, so how do you determine the best elements on a web page to A/B test first? That is another one of those very difficult questions because it depends. It depends on what the objectives are of the test, what you're wanting to focus on specifically. What's great about the framework that I mentioned is that you can actually design tests on a page through each of those specific elements. So you could actually go through and do 3 different strategies of tests on the homepage or any web page through the lens of security. Okay, so I'm going to set up a test that's going to test the homepage with or without the Better Business Bureau logo and see if that has an impact on page engagement, page interaction, CTA engagement. You could do one for motivation specifically, so testing motivational images. So, for example, in the web page that we saw for Spiffster, testing different images on the different emotional states of a person in a tie, that kind of thing, whether they're happy or they're looking more pensive or that kind of thing, and testing whether or not those have an impact on conversion. Another one would be in terms of motivation, where we were talking about CTAs, testing the difference between a learn more CTA and a explore collections, testing the different languages, the different copy on the same element in 2 different versions of the page. Those are kind of the different ways that you can determine some of the best elements to do a web page A/B test. Ultimately, it's really going to come down to what the objectives are of the test and what you're wanting to learn from the test. Oh, let me know if that doesn't answer your question, and I can get a little bit more. You can get a little bit more granular, more specific if it doesn't. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, thanks again for coming to our webinar. It- at the end of this, we'll actually be sending it out, a recording of it, so that you have it to review or to use and to incorporate into your own CRO practices and experiment strategies. Thanks for coming.